So, the central paradox that emerges in this poem is that though it is written like a nature poem, and though it explicitly seems to glorify nature and it uses metaphors that are appropriate to glorify and admire nature, one has to remember that neither London nor Westminster Bridge are part of nature. They are both man made, right? So these are artificial constructs. And yet, the whole poem, the central idea of the poem is about nature's glory and nature's beauty. So that is the paradox of this poem. And in Brooks's opinion, each poem, every poem, has this central conflicting ideas, which is key to interpreting it. If you unlock, if you decode these ideas, and if you can find out the paradox and interpret the poem in the light of the paradox, that could lead to a very different understanding of the poem. So, here I have with you a brief explanation of what Brooks has done uh, in his attempt to interpret Wordsworth's poem in the light of the paradox that we just discussed. So, here the paradox that is traced is that though London is a man made marvel, right? It is artificial, it is a city, it is all its buildings, its roads, its infrastructure, everything is man made. And in many ways, this is opposite to nature, right? It's in opposition to nature because it's natural versus artificial. But the speaker in the poem does not view London as a mechanical and artificial landscape, but as a landscape that is a part of nature or that is comprised entirely of nature. Now, that is the paradox. Since London was created by man and man is a part of nature, London too, in that logic, by that logic, becomes a part of nature. So, this was just an example to simplify the concept of paradox and how it needs to be applied to poetry if you were looking at Brooks's approach to poetry.